Radio Free Santa Clarita presents the Talk of Santa Clarita, a podcast about issues involving Santa Clarita and the surrounding valley. With your host, Stephen Daniels. Episode 169. In honor of Pride Month, John Musella. And now, let's see what the Talk of Santa Clarita is.
And remember, this is for posterity, so be honest.
A returning champ.
John,
thanks for coming on.
I'm happy to be back.
Returning champ.
I'm a fan, and I had a great time. Gosh, I think it's been 4 years now.
Has it been 4 years since last time?
4 years since we last chatted officially here on the record for posterity and all to enjoy.
I think I need to get a day job then. So I mean, we've been doing this for 5 years now. It's a little too long. So I wanted to have you on the show again because, strangely enough, because of my memory, I remember podcasts very distinctly, as many as I've done. And one of the things that was interesting about you was, you're a gay man. I think everybody knows that.
If they don't, surprise.
They do now.
Thanks for outing me, Stephen.
But it's Pride Month.
Yeah.
We're at the end of the Pride Month here, and
it's been a great Pride Month in Santa Clarita.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
How come?
Well, I mean, listen, we've got pride flags flying at the Boys and Girls Club, Child and Family Center, Westfield Town Center. I think the Heart District got a flag up. They proclaimed Pride Month. City of Santa Clarita proclaimed Pride Month. Hopefully one day we'll get a pride flag flying at City Hall.
They don't have one flying at City Hall?
They do not have one flying. PFLAG did send a flag to Mayor Miranda and the City Council to fly, but they proclaimed Pride Month, which is huge. 3 years in a row. Bill Miranda, our mayor, did the first proclamation 3 years ago, which is fantastic. And we had a huge turnout this week for PFLAG and Queer SCV and the LGBT Center fundraiser over at Rustic Burger. Totally overrun with over 200 people showing up that night for dinner as a fundraiser for those organizations. Rainbow flags everywhere. The owners of Rustic Burger could not have been nicer. The staff, everybody there were just tremendous. Huge community support. And it's probably the most things we've seen done publicly for Pride in the city of Santa Clarita ever, if not in a very long time. So it was a good Pride Month for Santa Clarita, especially coming out of the pandemic.
Yeah, and this is true. I think actually my wife and I and my kid went, and I think that was the first.
We saw you there.
Yeah, I remember seeing you. Yeah, you were too busy to talk to me.
I said hello to you. You ignored me. You were too busy talking to other more important people, which I respect.
Okay, well,
I'm giving you a hard time.
That's okay. But I think that was like the first post-pandemic real get-together of that I can think of that we went to, that where everybody was out and excited about seeing people for the first time again.
Yeah.
So
how'd you feel about that?
It was a little weird, because you kind of go, you're used to either Zooming or talking on the phone, and to face-to-face with people you haven't seen, particularly without masks on, it was just strange. And you don't know, like, do you shake hands now, or are we afraid to shake hands, or or do we hug, or all that was kind of like, didn't you feel the same way?
Yeah, I've been to a few events in person. We were big on staying home and staying out and ordering in and keeping a low profile during the pandemic and doing everything virtual, and which I think was the right thing to do. Wore masks everywhere and all that. But it's taken a little bit of readjustment to get back out and seeing people and readjust to those things.
Yeah.
I think some people are having a harder time readjusting than others, and some people are just running back into the room, hugging and kissing everybody again, and other people are being a little bit more cautious.
Yeah.
And I respect that. Some people are ready to go, some people need a little time and adjustment, and that's fine. And I always put my hand out to shake or hug if somebody doesn't want to, and they say, no, they're not comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Totally good.
Yeah.
Totally good. Everyone will be ready when they're ready in their own time.
Yeah.
Which is a lot like coming out.
Is it really?
It's a segue. There's your bridge.
No, I mean, when we talked the first time, we were talking about the fact that you're. What is your position with the chamber?
I'm just one of the folks that helps manage the chamber. My husband Ivan is the managing director of
is he?
Evolve Business Strategies, which runs and manages the chamber as a third-party group to manage the chamber. So I'm just involved in the management. He's the lead guy.
Oh, okay.
Chamber.
I didn't know that. I
think when we spoke, I was chair of the board of the chamber.
Oh, okay.
I was chair of the board of directors.
But you're still involved with
Correct.
this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we were going to talk about a lot of that, but it came up about your sexuality, and I was really intrigued with your story about coming out. And I mean, I know you're undeclared right now, or non.
Declined to state.
Declined to state. Yes.
No party preference.
No party preference.
I'm like a millennial. No labels.
No. Now, but you were at one point a Republican.
Correct.
And along with the Lincoln, the log cabin Republicans, there's not. I mean, that's kind of a small group of people. I mean, it kind of makes you unique as a result of it. But to have conservative values and to be gay. When you say, I mean, would you say most gay people are more liberal, or because of coming out? And
yeah, I mean, for sure. I know people think that I probably am conservative, but I think I'm more of a moderate and middle-of-the-road type person, always have been.
Yeah.
I believe in being fiscally conservative and responsible, but, I also believe in being socially responsible as well. And I was chair of Log Cabin Republicans California, the largest statewide Republican LGBT organization in the country.
How big is that? How many people are in that?
I couldn't even tell you anymore. That was so long. It was like 5-6 years ago now. I couldn't tell you how many people. I mean, if we were 50 people, it could have been the largest.
Thanks for coming prepared.
No, and we worked when I was chair of Log Cabin Republicans, we worked to remove all the anti-gay language from the California Republican platform, and we got Log Cabin chartered, officially recognized by the California Republican Party, which was huge.
Yeah.
And we got all that done. Those were my main goals as chair. We got them done, and then this guy Trump got the nomination for the party, and everybody came out of the woodwork who was whatever, and they didn't want me as chair of Log Cabin because I refused to endorse Trump.
Oh, really? They asked you to step down?
They asked me to step down. They basically told me endorse Trump or get out. And I said, don't need to show me the door. I know my way. I'm not. You aren't going to force me to do that. I've got principles. And he wasn't, to me, right for the party, politics, the country, anything. And so I stepped aside as chair of Log Cabin because I'd accomplished what I wanted to do, and I had, I think, like 4 more months left on my chairmanship, and I was like, this is so important to you guys, and that's the direction of the party. I don't need to be a part of it, so I stepped aside.
There does seem to be a lot of division in the Republican Party right now based on Trump. Even though he's not president anymore, I mean, there seems to be, people like yourself that are walking away from the party itself based on him.
I think the party walked away from its core constituency and went to the minority within the party, which were the folks, the party faithful that went to the conventions, that voted in the primaries. Those were the people that run the party now that are left. I mean, we talk about independent voters and who they are and where they came from. Most of them came from being Republicans because they didn't agree with the direction of the party. So they left and became independents. And so the Republican Party, being now a third-tier party in the state of California, is left with the most conservative people in the party. Which, to me, in the larger scheme of things, doesn't do good for a two-party, for a democracy set up on a two-party system.
I agree with you.
You need to have checks and balances between the two. But it just seems like everyone's operating from their own corners and not interested in compromise and working together. And I'm a pragmatist, so I like to work together and get things done and find common ground. And I just found I wasn't, honestly, a good partisan politico. And that's really, at the end of the day, what you are when you're involved in these party groups.
Aside from the log cabin Republicans, is it tough being gay as a conservative? I mean, is it?
So I guess I don't consider myself to be a conservative, quite honestly. I mean, I really consider myself to be more of a moderate.
Then Republican. Let's say Republican then.
Well, I'm not Republican. I'm.
Well, you were. You're being difficult now.
I'm just being truthful.
But you were Republican.
I was, sure.
Okay. Now, was it difficult as being Republican and going to a I don't know, Republican.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think, nobody at the Republican Party was overtly after anyone in particular or wanted to, do away with gays in the Republican Party. But at the same time, there was a lot of pushback from Republican leadership when it came to chartering the organization and getting the anti-gay language taken out of the platform. It took a lot of politicking. I mean, I was flying up and down the state and meeting with conservative leaders trying to find the best way to do it. And I knew that we weren't going to be able to get pro-gay statements, pro-LGBTQ community statements within the platform, but I knew we could at least get the language out and have the platform be moot on the subject. Just get the bad language out, which is what we did.
What kind of bad language? I mean, what did it say that was so...
It dealt with various issues, education, adoption, marriage, and there were just very specific lines and pieces of language, not very long, but very blatant languages, messaging language in there that, wasn't welcoming to all people. And if you talk about, the big tent party and the age of Reagan and bring everybody in with different ideas, it was not accommodating to that.
Yeah. How do you feel recently the Supreme Court just made that decision about the Catholic Church being able to protect same-sex?
If you look at the court, it was the conservatives and the liberals voting in that direction. I think the state of Pennsylvania screwed up, or the city, whatever it was, the Pittsburgh, whatever city it was. I think they made a mistake in how they handled the situation.
For our audience that knows that they basically allows the Catholic Church and their organizations to deny gay couples of adopting children.
Right, and it's tricky when it gets to legalities on things with this, and Supreme Court's looking at the letter of the law, and I don't think the state agency that handled it properly. I don't like the fact that government money goes to private or religious institutions and don't follow the laws of the land. I believe if you are a religious organization and you're taking government money, you should be subject to the laws of the government. It's pretty simple. A lot of those Catholic organizations, religious organizations, do a lot of good work, and that's fantastic, and I don't mean to take anything away from that. They're important in our communities. I'm not a very religious person, but I know the religious groups do so much good work in our communities, but I don't believe that religious organizations should be given a free right to use their religion to discriminate against anyone. Hiding behind your religion to discriminate against people is not good. It's not appropriate. There's no place for it in a civilized society.
Right.
Jesus would not be happy about that.
It's I actually left the Catholic Church based on that, because I didn't know they were fighting against to do that, to block gay adoptions.
Right.
And it's offensive to me.
Yeah, it is. There are so many kids that need good homes.
Yeah.
And there are
absolutely.
Good, solid, same-sex couples in long-term relationships that want to have families and will be great parents and should have the right to adopt and give those kids a good home.
Yeah. Okay, let's go back to what I was trying to get to, but we got off on tangents already. But because you're a good speaker, John, you're a good talker.
Well, you're a good interviewer.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah. Okay.
You just keep throwing compliments. I can start asking you questions.
No. Nobody interviews me. Mike Devlin did that one time, and that was probably one of the most boring podcasts ever. What intrigued me, though, was the fact that you had talked about the fact before you came out. How old were you when you came out gay?
32.
32.
Late in life, late bloomer.
Late bloomer, yeah, I was going to say.
Late bloomer, but everyone has their path.
Yeah. But your path is kind of interesting, because you told me in the last podcast that you were very anti-gay before you came out. Is that correct?
Oh, that dates back to college. I mean, yeah, and I don't know if that really is the right term. I don't think I was anti-gay. When I sat on the student senate in college, and an LGBT group came forward, wanted to be officially recognized by the associate student body, and they were coming in, and again, the rules and regs didn't really allow that type of organization to come in and under the bylaws of the group, and so I was making the point that let's follow the rules, kind of a thing. Let's make the rules work, and the rules didn't work. What I found through that whole process, quite honestly, is I discovered that there were people who I was doing something for a particular reason, but the people who were happy that I was doing it were not generally good people. And they came out of the woodwork in support of me, and I was kind of disturbed, quite honestly, about it. And I later had conversations with folks who were members of the LGBT community in that organization, and I realized I was on the wrong side at the end of the day. And I went around and did my best to, mend relationships and understand better. But listen, I was not in touch with who I was at the time, and sometimes the most ardent opponents to LGBTQ equality are those who might still, frankly, not be out and proud. And I discovered that about myself later in life. But I did take a position. I'm not happy looking back at that particular chapter in my life, and I realized that almost immediately upon being involved in that effort, and did my best to make amends back then. And I think I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about the LGBT community.
Would you say that was part of your journey to coming out?
I think everything's part of my journey. I don't necessarily think it was part of my journey to coming out, because that was when I was 21, 22 years old, and it took me another 10 years. I mean, I got married, I had a house with a picket fence, the whole, American dream, so to speak. So, but yeah.
You were married to a woman?
I was married to a woman.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, surprise. See, great things come out on your podcast. You just got to ask the right question.
We have an exclusive here.
Everybody knows that.
Well, I did. Now, how long were you married?
About 5 years.
5 years?
Yep.
Was your coming out the reason for it ending?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yes, it was.
Tell me about the decision to come out. I mean, it seems like for somebody trying to understand, because to me, coming out seems like the most dramatic, life-changing moment it would be for your life. I mean, for everything that
it can be.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, to some degree, it really isn't. I mean, I think you get yourself worked up about it because you're honestly concerned about, everyone sees you a certain way, and you're about to literally turn that perception on its head with people, or for most people. You're about to turn that perception on its head, and you honestly, at the time, you're concerned. How are people going to react? Am I going to lose friends? What's my family going to think? What's my life going to be like?
Yeah.
How are people going to treat me? How are they going to see me? How are things going to change? And that's really what I think a lot of people sit down and realize, is that everything's going to change the second I come out, and how are people going to react? Now listen, that was, 15 years ago now.
Yeah.
Coming out today is a totally different experience, I think, for people. I mean, there's still families, conservative families in different areas that still throw their kids out on the street when they come out. There's still terrible stories like that, and we as a community need to embrace those kids.
More than half the kids that are homeless right now are thrown out from being gay.
Huge problem. And LGBTQ youth have the highest suicide rates in the country. So, I mean, there's real issues that we have to deal with, specific for that community. But yeah, you're afraid of how people are going to react, what the change is going to be. Everyone has seen you a certain way your whole life, and now that's going to be completely different. You're worried about maybe the whispers and what people are going to say and think. And yeah, at the end of the day, once you do it, 95% of the people don't change how they see you, how they think of you, anything else. It's just, I think that initial, how is my life going to change? Especially, 15 plus years ago. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Being at the Pride event a couple nights ago and seeing so many young people so comfortable with who they are at such a young age, and being able to openly express themselves and show no fear about it, that to me is always heartwarming. It really is.
It's amazing too how much things have changed in just the past 12 years, when Bush was making an issue of gay marriage on the campaign trail, and now gay marriage is just kind of accepted. I think I don't know. Do you experience much prejudice these days, or?
Listen, there's always going to be discrimination out there. There's always going to be people who don't understand, who want to hate on something they don't understand, don't want to understand, and they have their own personal opinions, and that's fine.
Yeah.
It's always going to be there. We had a neighbor here in Santa Clarita, a straight couple who moved in next to us, didn't realize they were moving in next to a gay couple, a married gay couple, and expressed to the neighbors their displeasure about that, and that Santa Clarita was so liberal and obviously didn't care about gay marriage that they moved to a more conservative area as a result when their lease was up.
Where is more conservative than Santa Clarita?
And it was just, they were a young couple, unmarried, pregnant, and I was like, who's casting what stone and whom, you know?
Yeah.
And it's interesting to hear and see that stuff. And we had a case when we lived in West Hollywood where a neighbor actually yelled at us, called us faggots in front of our apartment in West Hollywood. And I mean, it happens, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it's not pleasant by any stretch, but it makes you strong, and you live through it and you move forward, and you hope that more people understand who you are and want to be more embracing of everyone.
Was there a moment that, as a life-changing thing, was there a moment you kind of went, oh, I can't deny this anymore, I'm gay? I mean, like, you know, was it like a gay kiss on in a movie, or was there something that happened that you just said, I can't deny this anymore?
Yeah, I don't think it was really a moment. I think it was a series of moments. It was that journey. It wasn't one specific thing. That it wasn't like the light bulb suddenly went off. I think it was just more of a series of experiences and getting better in touch with who I was.
Were you filled before you came out? I mean, did you think were you kind of like, am I gay? Or were you wondering that? You know, as
well, yeah, if you don't wonder, you're not going to come out, right?
Well, that's true. Hitting with logic. No, I mean, were you filled with kind of like a self-loathing and you know, because you were hiding?
I guess it was just more of a personal journey of discovery.
Yeah.
Of who you are and getting more in touch with who you are, your emotions and your feelings. And I think I had sidelined that, stuck it away, tucked it neatly into a corner kind of thing, and, you know, concentrated on work and try and be successful and other things in life. And you finally have a moment of personal discovery, or start having those moments of personal discovery, and it's a journey to come out.
Who did you tell first?
I told a friend of mine, a good friend of mine from college, was the first person I told.
And how did they react?
Well, that good friend is gay as well, so they were very warm and accepting and helpful in the process, and was really a great support for me in that. And I mean, people want to start small, I think, start with those closest to them. And generally you start with your friends before your family.
Yeah.
At least then. I don't know what the experience today might be like, but generally your friends know you a little bit better than your family.
Yeah.
I told my sister said that's no big surprise.
Well, see, that was going to be my question.
And I don't know if I should be insulted or by that comment by my sister. And I love
she
my
just
sister.
knows you.
She's great.
You know?
And sometimes when people say, "Oh, I knew," it's kind of like, "Did you really?"
Well, there are people that you kind of go, I mean,
my husband can't figure out. He's like, how did not everyone not know you were gay?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, there was a guy when I was working at Warner Brothers who had a certain kind of effeminate quality to him, that, you know, he was dating a really nice girl and stuff, but you kind of went, dude, just come out. You know, I mean, it seems so obvious. I mean,
again, I think it's everyone's personal journey.
Yeah.
It's up to them and their discovery and what they're comfortable with.
Were more people shocked or more like, for you?
It was kind of a mixture. I mean, some people were shocked, some people were not surprised, some people were very supportive. It was kind of a mix, but most people were kind of like, who cares?
Well, you know,
which was nice. I mean, that's comforting. It gives you a level of comfort when people have those reactions.
I think Jon Stewart said it best when he said, you know, look, if you're not gay and no one's asking you to do gay kissing, or you know kiss a gay person, then why do you care? You know, I mean, it's such a personal, private thing. It's not really relevant to the rest of society. You know,
right.
I mean,
well, I always like to turn this thing on people's heads a little bit and get them to thinking about things. You know, you see a straight couple out in public and they're showing affection and whatnot, and for in mixed company, I always say, gosh, I wish they would just keep that in the privacy of their bedroom. I don't need to see it in public, because, you know, people say that for a lot of years about, and still do to some degree, about gays. Why are they holding hands in public? Why are they showing affection in public?
Yeah.
I don't care what you do, allegedly, as long as you keep it in the privacy of your bedroom. But then again, you do, because you voted for Prop 8, and you know, so I always like to turn on the head a little bit and make the point.
But you would say it's obvious that we've come from pretty far in the past 15 years. I mean, I saw a commercial the other day that had a gay couple talking about making life choices in bed. You know, and to me, I was like, wow, that's really, a bold step from where we were 10 years ago, to put a gay couple, not only a gay couple together,
really
but to be in bed and to say I love you at the end of the commercial. It's a huge step in the things.
Well, listen, I know that some people want to make being gay, being a member of the LGBT community, odd or not normal, but the reality is it is normal. It is not odd. If you look back through the course of history, there are plenty of examples of, not maybe out people, but people who were part of the LGBTQ community way back when. You can't tell me all those Greeks in bathhouses weren't gay. So, I mean, it's, it's not shown properly in history because gays didn't write the history books. And to not identify and include the LGBT history in the classroom and history books is a disservice. So as we include that in education, as we include that in advertising, on TV, those are very powerful mediums to help really show people that this is normal. I mean, we have friends, two women who are married and have kids and live here in this community and have a great family life here. And to me, that's very normal. I don't think twice about it.
Were you, growing up, you say you weren't anti-gay, but I mean, if someone asked your opinion on gay people...
Nobody ever asked my opinion.
Nobody, well, I'm asking your opinion. I'm just wondering what was your thoughts on someone being gay before coming out?
No, I guess I'm not sure I really had thoughts on being gay. I mean, I grew up in a conservative household, in a Republican household, with great parents who've been very accepting and loving, and they love Ivan, my husband, and are very happy for us. We're a great family. I don't know if I really had opinions about that growing up, quite honestly.
Well, the big question is, how did your wife take it?
Oh, not great.
Yeah, I can imagine.
She's happily married, has 2 kids now, lives up in Montana, so she's living the dream, which is great.
Well, I don't know. It is Montana, so I don't know how much of a dream you can be there. So
it's not my cup of tea, but it is a beautiful country. It's a great area.
How diplomatic of you there.
I prefer a little bit more sunshine and warm weather.
Yeah.
Maybe not as hot as this today, but...
Well, I do appreciate you dealing with the heat. So
happy to be on the hot seat with you, Steve.
The hot seat. There you go. Tell me about, when you were talking about Pride Month in general, and the fact that the city is recognizing it for the third time in a third year in a row. Why is Pride Month so important? Why is it important to you, and why do you think it's important to the community?
Pride Month was born out of the need to express the importance of our existence and our right to exist. It wasn't born out of the need to celebrate. I know that Pride has become a celebration, but 51 years ago, it was born out of, Stonewall and the riots and literally the right to exist. And it's needed to remind people. I mean, the fact that, in today's day and age, there are still people who, don't understand being gay, pride, want to discriminate behind the veil of religion, etc. There's obviously a need to educate and inform people about the LGBTQ community. So it's really about self-awareness, and it's also about making sure people know that we're here and that we're part of this community. We make up 10% of the American population. We're an important part of the economy. I should have brought the number, but I can't remember how many billions of dollars the gay community contribute to the economy through jobs and spending and everything else. We're an important part of the American fabric, and we want to make sure that people know that we're here. And Pride's important as a result of that. It's an acknowledgement that we're here.
Do you?
And people who I always laugh when people say, "Oh, when's our straight month? When's our white man month or whatever?" And it's like
White History Month.
You should be so happy that you don't need one.
Yeah.
The pride and that recognition and the need for education there's a reason for it, and it's not a pretty reason. And so when I hear people talk about, oh, why do you have to be treated special? It's like, it's not about being treated special. It's about being treated equal. That's all we ever want, just equal treatment under the law.
Do you feel that you still get persecuted or discriminated against on any way?
I don't feel. I mean, I know it's out there. You know, you go to more conservative areas, conservative countries. We like to travel. We travel the world. You know, you're careful what you do in certain places because you want to be respectful of culture in different areas. But at the same time, I don't necessarily think I'm being persecuted or anything like that in this country. But I am aware that there are people who aren't really warm and fuzzy about being gay, and that's okay.
You seem very comfortable with yourself now. I mean, as far as, were you this comfortable with yourself before you came out?
Oh, no, not at all. Not comfortable at all. It took some getting used to.
Yeah. Well, now you're just a happy guy all the time.
Well, you know, it's good to be happy.
Where did you meet your husband at?
We met online.
Okay.
And we met in West Hollywood. He's from South Africa, and he was here visiting. He was actually visiting someone that we were both dating at the same time that we didn't realize at that time until later. But that's okay.
Awkward.
You know, it's funny. It makes for good stories when people ask about how did you guys meet. But he came here from South Africa. We met online and just kind of started hanging out, honestly, as friends. And just the friendship developed into a relationship. When we first met, there was, you know, we were just literally hanging out, having a good time.
Do you feel? What do you feel is the worst stereotype that exists about being gay?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, we were talking earlier. You know, when you talk about how gays were portrayed in the media, and
Sure.
to some degree today, but you know, in movies and whatnot, even just a couple 3 years ago, that you know, every gay man is somehow really flamboyant and you know
Sexually promiscuous.
gets stereotyped into certain roles in society in these movies and things. I think that is an issue because I think that's just one of the worst stereotypes because you know, gays are everyone, every kind of person, frankly, just like anybody else. And that we're not just one stereotypical role, that there's a diversity of people.
Does it bother you when, I mentioned the guy that I worked with at Warner Brothers who was very effeminate and stuff like that. You kind of assume that he was probably gay because of it. But does it bother you when someone makes that assumption on something like that, you know, based on stereotypes and stuff like that? I mean, I honestly am basing my assumption that he's gay based on stereotypes. You know, the effeminate quality that he had. I mean, he may have come out since then. I don't know. He may not have, but maybe happily married. But I'm just wondering, does that bother you when you see? I mean, for example,
I try not to get bothered by those things because, again, I think everyone has a different journey in life and different experiences, and some people haven't had experiences, you know, being around gay people, and so they're, you know, they've seen what they've seen in the movies, and they think that's what everybody's supposed to be, and that's not. So I don't know. I just try to make light of it and move it on because I think everyone has a learning experience and a journey as part of their life, and we just need to be a part of it in a positive way.
Well, I mean, when you see someone blatantly playing out a stereotype of a gay man, I mean,
I can blatantly do that too.
So can I. I mean, does it bother you when you see someone that is like playing up the stereotype?
I guess it doesn't necessarily bother me. I just wish for better. I wish for better roles in movies and sitcoms that really show gay people in different lights, in the diversity, because I don't think they show the diversity, not just from, you know, who people are, what jobs they have, but a cultural perspective as well. Because I think, you know, you look at the gay community and I think everyone kind of thought, oh, all the gays are, you know, white and blonde and whatever, and that's not true. There's great diversity within the LGBTQ community, and that needs to be represented more.
Can you think of a show or a movie that, in particular, that has a good portrayal of gay characters?
Well, I mean, Will and Grace was always fun.
Yeah, but even then, like the Sean Hayes character was kind of, you know, extra flamboyant, you know, stuff like that.
Totally agree. Yeah, totally agree. But that show showed the diversity between Will and the Sean Hayes character. I mean, that to me was good. It showed the differences within the gay community.
Have you been consciously aware of like seeing things like it was a big deal on what's the damn show? Modern Family. When the gay couple kissed, when they finally got married, and there was a moment when the show when they actually did kiss, and when you see something like that on TV, do you go, oh, there's a mark on our positive? I mean,
yeah, 100%.
Have you seen 100%, that?
100%. The first time you see those types of things happening in mainstream, it's a win, because it helps show that things are normal, and it brings it into the living rooms of every American family across this country and across the globe, and it shows it's not a big deal. And when there's a first, there's going to be a second, and when there's a second, there's going to be a third. And the more you have that happen, the more normal the experience becomes for everyone. And I think that's important.
It seems like probably the most landmark moment for the gay community, I would assume, in the media is when Ellen came out on her show. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the largest landmark moments in media, yeah.
Have you seen in particularly the last 15 years, more of a progression of understanding and welcoming the community
and I'm a terrible sports person, and I'm blanking on the NFL player who just came out this week.
I'm blanking on his name too, but I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
But the reaction was, here you have the first NFL football player, active football player, coming out as gay, and the reaction was kind of like, cool. It's kind of like no big deal.
Yeah. Let's talk about your catching the football.
Yeah, and it was that was to me such a great moment.
Yeah.
That it wasn't like oh my gosh, craziness. That was really just warmly and calmly accepted. And that, I hope, is a great sign to so many youth across the country and the globe that should be the reaction when you come out. Just like, cool.
Were you before you came out, you say that you hadn't really done a thought about, we talked a little bit about teenagers that experience, suicide rate and stuff like that. Did you ever go through periods of extreme depression, that nothing like that?
No, I'm fortunate I did not go through any of those moments related to coming out, thankfully, but I know that is a really, really hard time for a lot of youth. And they don't have the support either by friends or family or within their communities, and they need a place to reach out, and that's why the Trevor Project is so important. And I've helped raise some money for the Trevor Project because I know how difficult it is in those suicide rates for LGBTQ youth and homelessness for LGBTQ youth. So I think that we need to pay attention to that and be supportive of that. We don't have kids, we're not planning to have kids, but I'm a firm believer that every child deserves a quality life and a good home to grow up in, because that gives them the good foundation and start to life, and they become productive members of society. I think there's so many things that can happen to youth that scar them emotionally going forward, and so I think that making sure, especially with LGBTQ youth, they've got that support group around them is really important.
Now, we have a part of the show now called Ryan's Question, and he basically gives me a question to ask the guest during the show. This is Ryan's question for you.
Hey John, how did you know for a fact that you were gay?
Because I like boys.
That's simple, huh?
I found men attractive. It's in my DNA. It's who I am.
Okay.
I guess once you get in touch with that and you're comfortable with it, you can live your life freely and be who you are.
Okay. I think you'll find that would be a very informative answer.
It's simple.
Simple. Almost too simple. I was expecting a much more complex, like, when you go in life but I like
Ryan's a good egg, but that's just a simple answer.
Well, we tried it. He's 10, but we've been very open about homosexuality and being gay and everything like that, and emphasize to him that if he comes out as gay,
And thank you for that. Kids should have that experience in the home, at school. No one needs to. It just needs to be part of the normal process of education and conversations, like everything else.
He seems. it's fascinating to me because being 10, how much he already is aware of a lot of that. You know what I mean? It's like when I brought up being gay, he already knew what it was and didn't think anything of it. He's just like, yeah, they like boys or they like girls, or as opposed to the other opposite sex.
I mean, it just goes back to every time I see youth who are so comfortable with who they are at a young age, even younger than the kids I'm talking about, the junior high school kids that were at that Pride event with their families earlier this week. You see kids who are so comfortable with who they are and they know who they are. It means they've been brought up in a good household, frankly, an open, warm, loving environment that allows kids to be who they are.
Yeah,
I think it's really, really empowering. I mean, a fraternity brother from college reached out to me about his kid's journey in the LGBTQ community. A former colleague who I used to work with early in my career reached out to me, and the stories that they shared with me were really empowering, that their young kids were so in tune with who they were. They weren't taught to be forced into a particular role, a gender assignment, or anything else, that they were allowed to think freely and openly for themselves, and that their families and schools provided that open environment, that clearing and space that someone needs to identify with who they are and be comfortable. Right. That to me is a miracle. That to me is empowering, and that to me is so important. And it honestly warms my heart to know that that's where we're at and that's where we're getting to in life today. Are you ever in situations where you're uncomfortable with saying that you're gay? I mean, no. I mean, I tell people I'm gay. I work in I would be generally considered a conservative industry, in the building industry, and I have no problem sharing with people that I am gay, I'm married. It's not something I run up and say, hi, I'm John Musella, I'm gay. But through the course of... You probably should. But I think, whatever. During the course of the conversation, I might reference my husband, or I might reference something, being on the advisory board for Quality California or something along those lines. You throw those clues out, just like you would during any normal conversation. Right. And again, I think working to help normalize it in people's minds helps build mountains for everyone. Recently at the city council, we had our favorite person, I won't say his name, but he brought up that if there's going to be a Pride Month, that there should be another initial one for, I think, straight. H. You wanted H for heterosexual. Heterosexual. Correct. What are your thoughts on that? Well, listen, I was just so pleased that person was able to have LGBTQ roll off their tongue like it was nothing. I can't do that. Because so many people who are not within the community stumble a little bit over those letters. But man, he just flowed LGBTQ right off his tongue. And I thought, you know what? Mic drop, our work here is done. I don't care what he thinks. The fact that he knew the letters, the order, and just did not hesitate, that to me was a win. That was a win there. It was a triumph right there, a little victory. But I mean, his argument about the adding the H and everything like that, why is that? I think it goes back to the fact that you should be happy as a straight, white, heterosexual man that you don't need a month to basically say, please recognize me, please treat me as equal, please don't discriminate against me, please don't use religion to discriminate against me, please don't use the courts to uphold laws to discriminate against me. And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And that person is of a generation where things were thought of differently, and you have to respect that to some degree as well, and understand where they're coming from. Right. But I also think that it's important to help educate those folks, and if they want to understand and accept, great. If they don't, fine. But I mean, we're a different time, we're a different age. There's a great, and I wish I had it in front of me or memorized, at the Jefferson Memorial in D.C., there's a great quote from Thomas Jefferson that basically said, in essence, the laws of man must change as we learn more and know more to be able to progress forward. That what we see today in the law and our time today is not going to be the same 20 years from now, 100 years from now, 200 years from now, that we need to evolve as a country to make sure the laws reflect where we're at as a people. Oh, Antonin Scalia has turned over his grave on what you just said. Yeah, that's okay. You're heartless, John.
What do you think is if there was someone out there right now that, because my audience is young, mostly 10-year-olds.
Please.
No, I mean if there's somebody that's wrestling with their sexuality right now and everything like that, and thinking about coming out, but they're afraid. What was the message you get to them?
It might sound a little cliche, but it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
It gets better. Go find the people who can support you and love you and wrap themselves around you, so that you can have the journey you need to have. Because there's nothing better in life than being free and being able to express yourself and being comfortable with who you are, and not to be confined within certain rules and expectations. So if that's the Trevor Project or some other group to go find that help and support that they need, it's out there, and go seek it out, and you will be helped along the way if it doesn't exist within your family, your friends, or your environment where you're at.
Okay. Let's move to some fun stuff here. We'll play off the gay stereotypes. Are you a Streisand fan?
Sure.
Or a Judy Garland fan?
Not a huge Judy Garland fan, but I might lose my gay card if I say that publicly, which I just said.
So you pick Streisand over Judy Garland?
Yeah.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Oh, gosh, that's a hard one. Star Wars.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it could be argued that Star Trek is more inclusive.
It could be.
But
It could be. If you look at it through that lens, my answer might change, but
yeah, okay.
okay. I grew up watching both.
Yeah.
My dad was a huge Star Trek fan, and we watched it at home, the old ones and the new ones. I just prefer Star Wars.
Okay.
Maybe it's all the violence. I don't know.
No, Star Trek. It was had an episode years ago, but I mean like 20-something years ago, about a character who had to deal with an ex who was gay, or I mean, and it was a much more complicated scientific way, science fiction kind of way, but had to deal with that issue, and I think there was one episode of Next Generation where Riker fell in love with an androgynous fell in love with an individual, an alien who was part of an androgynous group.
So clearly your answer is Star Trek, because I don't know any of this.
Well, the point I'm trying to make is it was an androgynous group of aliens, and one of the aliens came forward to Riker and said, yes, and by the way, yes, I am a Star Trek geek, that she leans more toward being female than male, and that they don't bring it up in society because of society being androgynous and judgmental. And she ends up going on trial, and Riker has to defend her. And at one point they say she has to go through conversion therapy to be normal again. And what struck me so powerful was in the Star Trek episode, Riker turns around and goes, "She is normal. There's nothing wrong with her," which is pretty bold.
Powerful line.
Yeah, it's pretty bold, pretty bold for television, I would say, at the time, 20-something years ago or whatever. Got off on a Star Trek tangent there. What is the first concert you went to?
Oh, I was probably Shania Twain, honestly.
Really? Are you a country fan?
I'm not really a big country fan, but I love Shania Twain. Gosh, that's probably, 1996? We didn't go to concerts as kids. I mean...
Really?
Yeah. It was not part of life experience until getting into college.
What's your favorite movie?
Oh, Devil Wears Prada. For sure.
That's kind of a stereotype, isn't it? I mean, a cliche of a gay man.
It's a well done, amazing movie. I just don't like the ending when Anne Hathaway throws her phone in the fountain and walks away from success and goes after love. I mean, to me, it should have gone after success.
Now, see, that's interesting you say that. I should watch that movie, because I have a similar thing about a movie called Swimming with Sharks. And everybody's like, "Oh, he sold his soul for, the character sold his soul to make it in the movie industry." And I'm like, of course, it was for success.
Right.
Why give it up for love? When we had that chance for success.
Right. And the boyfriend was kind of, apparently a good sous chef or whatever in the movie, and he just seemed kind of like a dad. Honestly, his character was kind of boring, and I thought she could have done so much better.
What is the biggest stereotype about gay that's not true?
Why? Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know what the right answer is off the head, or what my opinion on that would be. because I think there's lots of stereotypes out there about gays. I guess the one that's most upsetting, and we just had this experience this week, is that for some reason people think all gays are pedophiles. And someone is running around town sending hate mail to organizations about Pride Month and basically saying that gays are pedophiles. And it's like, I just don't even get it, honestly. I mean, you look at how many gay couples have children, it's not a high percentage. I don't know where the correlation comes from. I think it's just literally used as a way to make gays abnormal and against society and terrible for families and children. And it's ridiculous. It's stupid.
I think, speaking from my father's conservative viewpoints, I think his attitude is the belief that gay is a choice, not something you're born with, and that.
So is religion.
Yeah, well, I always respond.
Your religion is more of a choice than, and your political affiliation is more of a choice than who you are as a person fundamentally.
Well, the response.
And that's what I always like to tell people is like, fine, so I chose to be gay. Who cares?
Yeah.
Why is that a problem?
Did you choose? I mean, or were you born that way? You were born that way.
You were born that way.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
You choose to come out.
Yeah.
You choose to live your life how you want to live it.
Right.
But you're born that way. It's who you are. It's
maybe you were born that way. Lady Gaga.
That's right. Good song.
Yeah, it's a great song. Great song. I love it.
Not as good as Poker Face, but.
Because I think my father's viewpoint is that there's something wrong in the head with someone that is gay.
And that's how they were portrayed.
Yeah.
On TV.
Yeah.
In the media.
Yeah.
In life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that belief that there's something wrong with them is like, that they're deviant. And that's how they associate with the pedophile thing, is like they're both deviants.
Right. It's back in the late 60s, early 70s here in California, the Briggs Initiative or whatever the heck it was, when Reagan basically came out and told the gay community, you better get out there against it and show people, because she was going after gays as teachers and trying to outlaw gays from being teachers in the classroom because they believed that gays were pedophiles. And it's like, it's just ridiculous. It's just preposterous.
What are you going to do about all the heterosexual pedophiles?
Right, exactly. Exactly.
So, I guess the thing I wanted to point out, though, is that when someone brings up about choosing to be gay, I always respond with, well, when did you decide to like women, to be heterosexual? When was your choice? When did you make that choice? Because, they kind of take a step back and go, I never really made that choice. It's a lot of people don't seem to get that.
If someone ever says that to me, I always say, okay, who cares if I did choose? Mm-hmm. Who cares if this was a choice?
Well, you don't think that. That's a good point. Who cares? But I mean,
who cares?
But you do believe it. I mean, you know for a fact actually that it's being born.
Yes.
Do you think that there's anybody that actually makes the choice to be gay?
Listen, I think there's probably folks out there that choose all sorts of different things. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I mean, 10, 20 years ago, would you have chosen to be gay with all the discrimination and hate toward gays? Would you actively gone out and just chosen and said, I'm going to be gay because I want to be gay? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's within you. It's who you are. It's in your DNA makeup to be gay, bi, lesbian, whatever the case might be. So I just don't know any examples of somebody who just went out and said, oh, I want to be gay today. Again, doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, again, part of this is probably my own.
I don't know why everybody doesn't want to be gay, but
is it great being gay?
It is great being gay.
Why is it?
Because you get to be who you are. Mm-hmm. I think so many people live within the lines of society that have been, drawn for everyone. Mm-hmm. And being gay, you're a little bit outside those lines. And you get to write your own rules. When gay marriage came down and was legalized here, we went out and got married. And the question was what finger do you put your ring on? Because the gays used to put the ring on the opposite hand. Mm-hmm. To show they were in a relationship with someone because they wanted to be different than straight couples. So the argument became, well, do we continue with that tradition in the gay community? Do we start putting our rings on the traditional ring finger when we're married?
Right.
We chose the traditional ring finger for ourselves, but there's some of these things within society that, you get to kind of write your own rules on, so to speak.
I want to ask you about the letter Q, not QAnon, but just Q in general, like queer. I was always raised with that being a derogatory term towards someone who's gay. But I interviewed Rhoda, I had trouble with her last name, Nazazine.
Who's that?
Running for Congress. And she used the term queer quite a bit. And I asked her about it, and she said that there's a movement to take the word back and make it non-derogatory but more of a compliment. Is that...
It's not unusual for groups, organizations to try to take back that language and take control of it and show power in that. I don't mind. The word doesn't bother me. I know it might be offensive to some folks who that word was used against them in a very derogatory term during their lives. They may not be happy with it. There are others that may see power in taking it back. I don't really have an opinion either way on it, frankly.
Okay. Well, is there a message you want to give to anybody about...
I was just going to say, if someone comes up and calls me queer,
yeah,
it's not going to bother me.
Not going to bother you?
No. It's said with love and admiration.
What about the word faggot?
I don't like that word at all.
Yeah. It's amazing. I had this weird experience when I was in high school with a guy named Ben, and I'm not going to even hide the fact that, in the 80s, you threw that word around a lot. I mean, it was just another, way to call somebody. And he did something. He was kind of a bully, kind of a big guy and a bully and everything like that. And he did something to me. I think he pulled my hair or something. I don't know what it was, but I called him a faggot, not thinking anything about what the word meant or anything like that. But what was interesting about it was Ben grabbed me and then held me over a staircase and said, if you don't take that word back, I'm going to drop you. I mean, he really scared the crap out of me and everything. And now I look back at that moment because he reacted so much to that one word and so violently that I'm beginning to wonder if maybe Ben's gay. I mean, you know what I mean? He was so protective about being called that word. You know what I mean?
Could have been him. Could have been someone in his life close to him.
Yeah, that's true.
Who knows?
That's true.
I don't like the word. It's terrible.
I agree with you. I mean,
Listen, we've walked in AIDS Walk, LA, and different things, and there's always a contingency of radical type folks who stand there and with the signs that say "Die fag" and "You're going to hell" and all these wonderful things, and you just kind of have to walk by and ignore it and do your thing because you're never going to change those people's minds, and they're coming from a place of hate and intolerance, and you could really try to get them to understand better, but they're just in those extreme circumstances. It's better just to ignore them and not let them win with their language. Do
you think there's it's hard to be religious and gay?
No, we have plenty of friends who are religious and gay. You have to find a church that's welcoming. St. Stephen's up here, very welcoming. There's churches in LA, they're very welcoming. Catholic churches that are welcoming. You just have to find just like anything in life, I think you have to find where you're comfortable and feel at home.
Well, I hope you felt at home here.
I do. We still live here.
Well, I mean on this show.
Oh, on the show, of course. I wouldn't have come back if I didn't feel at home.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and talking about Pride Month and kind of bringing some of the issues to light as far as what it is. Because I think it's an important month, and I think it's important that.
What's better than rainbows and parties to start off the summer holidays?
Yeah,
June's a great month. June's a great month.
It's got Juneteenth now on top of it.
It's right before the 4th of July. It's the opening of summer. It's a good month.
Well, happy Pride Month to you.
Happy Pride Month.
Okay, and I appreciate you coming on the show and talking about this openly and about things.
Always happy to come on. Thank you for giving me the questions in advance. I really appreciate that. I'm joking.
What questions in advance? There's no questions, man. You've made the assumption that I actually prepare for these shows.
I know that you don't. There's nothing sitting in front of you.
No, I decided to wing it today. So, but we hope you guys enjoyed the talk. Thanks for coming on, John. Appreciate it.
Great. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
You've been listening to the Talk of Santa Clarita. Listen to us on iTunes, SoundCloud.com, YouTube, and Stitcher. Barring a life event getting in the way, a new podcast is available every Tuesday. Questions, comments, and show ideas can be sent to thetalkofsantaclarita@gmail.com. You can also call or text us at 661-505-8672. That's 661-505-8672. Follow us on Twitter at The Talk of SC or on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at The Talk of Santa Clarita. You can also visit our website by going to www.thetalkofsantaclarita.com. This has been a production of Radio Free Santa Clarita Incorporated, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. To donate, go to radiofreesantaclarita.org/donate. Radio Free Santa Clarita, on the net and on the air, and we're very much aware.
Any questions?